Welcome to the Growth with AI podcast, hosted by Integrated AI Services. I'm Peter Martinson, and today's episode dives into how AI is reshaping digital marketing, client strategy, and the way modern agencies deliver results. Our guest is Alex Zinni, founder of Alpha Key Digital, a full-service agency known for helping businesses grow through smart branding, data-driven digital campaigns, and performance-focused web strategies. Alex has been at the forefront of integrating AI into everything from content creation to analytics, using intelligent tools to streamline operations and elevate client outcomes. Alex, it's great to have you here.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Peter. Happy to be chatting with you about AI and diving into some of these great insights.
That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to this discussion. So tell me your story. How did you get started doing what you're doing now?
Yeah. You know what? I'm what they call an accidental agency owner. So in 2016, I was a year out of college. I was working at Sears and I was a cash register attendant. And it's just not where I thought I was going to be after my 4-year degree. And But I did have some skills. I learned how to build websites. I had a website for my band. I had a website in college that I was working on and naturally started to gain some clients and was smart enough at the time to realize that the website wasn't all there was to it. There was this thing called Google and SEO and social media and paid advertising. So I began to offer digital marketing services, picked up some clients, and a handful of them are still with me almost 10 years later. So it was an evolution of just kind of becoming an agency owner accidentally. And within the last, 4 or 5 years, we've really grown a lot and we're really continuing to grow. We service the aesthetic niche, the aesthetic industry. So plastic surgeons, dermatology, med spas, it's a really fun client to work with. And we help them grow their online presence and get more patients.
Wow, well, that's a lot to unpack. So just a couple of immediate questions. What was the name of your band?
Well, I played in quite a few bands, so I got to shout them out. But Bro Dylan was the band that I played in, wrote all the music. We have a couple albums out on Spotify. And also another band was called Apostle Jones, which is a Cleveland-based funk band. I was a 9-piece band. I played bass in, and I still play with them from time to time. And it's a great experience. Music is my passion, and I love it. And I'm never gonna give up the music. And I think you can see in my frame here, I got some speakers and I got some and behind me. But yeah, it's the best.
Fantastic. Did you know that you like in college or that you wanted to own a business, or was starting a business just completely accidental?
I always liked the idea of being a business owner because I come from a family that, values entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And it was something that I always thought I would do because I was really good at booking venues for the band, selling merchandise, doing promotion, working out the deals. I had our ASCAP and our BMI and all of our contracts read over and all that fun stuff. So I was kind of running a business, since my first band when I was 15. And I always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and I could see that I wanted to work for myself. And I just didn't know how it was going to evolve. But when it
Mhm.
did start to evolve, I just really dove into it head first and took that plunge.
Okay. And how did you get into the niche of, you said med spas and plastic surgeons, and I think there was another one in there.
Yeah. So I'll have to give a shout out to Dr. Paul Vanek here in Cleveland. He was a family friend and kind of gave me a shot to work with him right away. So in 2016, and I really learned the whole behind the scenes. I've been in the OR. I understand the patient journey, so I really understand that space, and I really fell in love with it as a medical. I have a medical background in my family, a lot of doctors and no none of the cousins or my siblings or I became doctors, but the uncles and the grandparents were and my dad and stuff. So I just really kind of gravitated towards that field and it's a lot of fun.
Okay, fantastic. So how do you integrate AI with the, the digital marketing for
Mm.
med spas and doctors' offices? What first got you to start working with AI?
Oh wow, yeah. So I can recall when ChatGPT came out in 2022. And I can remember those early prompting sessions. And as a CEO of my company, of course, I'm always thinking about increasing productivity, reducing costs, integrating things into technology into our systems. And it really was just this game changing aha moment that this
Mhm.
machine would be able to think alongside and in some cases think for us in terms of what we do with SEO, with development coding, whether it's going to be creating customer profiles. I mean, you name it. There's so many things that we do with AI, create sales presentations. But what I'm really excited about in 26, we're going to be rolling out our first version of our AI patient concierge, which is going to be, it's an advanced chat bot for businesses to have on their website that's going to walk the prospective patient through a series of questions and dialogue to really qualify them to when it gets to the cosmetic coordinator or the sales team, that they have a qualified, vetted patient and a much higher chance of a close rate, a successful consultation. So that's something we've been working on for a while, and we're going to be, debuting that, and it's going through our beta testing. So that's going to be a great way to engage website visitors and get them into our clients, pipeline and get more procedures and more things booked.
So do you have to worry about protected health information and HIPAA rules with that?
Yep, the HIPAA compliance is 100% integrated into the platform,
Mhm.
so that there will be a clear, compliance will be clearly upheld, and it has been tested and run through that compliance. So, yeah, that's really important that you need that. In the U.S., it's HIPAA compliance, and that patient sensitive data and information needs to be stored properly.
Now, how do you handle the PHI with an LLM that, to prevent the LLM from using any of the inputted information as part of its training and remembering that? How do you handle that?
It's a great question and it's very technical, but it actually begins with a form. And on that form, this is before it even reaches the LLM, that
Mhm.
patient's information is changed so that the LLM actually doesn't get the patient's exact details. And then what happens is
Hmm.
after that LLM interacts with the fake patient name, it's integrated with the patient's name. So what that net
Wow.
result ends up happening is the LLM never interacts with the exact patient's name.
That's a clever way of doing it. Is that an industry standard way of handling that, or is that your
And the IP is there, and we're working closely to get this because this AI patient concierge is Alpha Key, property, and that was just a fun way that we did it. And I know that there's many clever ways to do things, but it's really important to build things so that, especially in our space, that the patient is safe and that compliance is had because really nobody knows where the LLM is storing information or how are they
yeah,
retrieving it and what does that all mean? So in order to avoid that altogether, we just don't even introduce that variable.
very cool. Very nice. Okay. Um, so that's coming out in 2026, but what are you using now in 2025 to help your agency be, what did you say earlier? Cut costs and be more productive?
Yeah. So for anyone who's familiar with SEO, I feel like that was a quick one for people to adopt AI to because SEO is all about writing, technical writing, showcasing, services, products, and all sorts of things. And we did initially start writing up drafts. I mean, it replaced technical writers almost right away because what we were able to do is use the LLM, prompt it accordingly, and get the written pieces that we need. What we found is that best way for us to do it was a new process of really creating from the customer, our client, from their exact voice, using voice and transcription to create documents that are in their own style, in their own technical speak, and then implementing, schema markup and other indexing to really get Google and ChatGPT to show up their results. We found that we have been able to publish, information on people's websites, and within 4 hours, it's already showing up on ChatGPT when you're typing in, Ozempic face repair near me or body lift surgery in Cleveland or, you name it, we're having good results getting that shown up in the chat visibility in ChatGPT. So we've really been able to reduce the amount of time things have taken. So if in the past, let's just say keep SEO for an example, we'd have to get the topic, do the keyword research, get the technical writer, have them write it out thoroughly, have it read by the client, then have it reviewed, do another writing, and then put it onto the website. So let's just say something took 4 hours in the past. We're able to get that down now to an hour. So you can see how that would stretch the capabilities across the whole team, and it's really been exciting.
So you're getting a bunch of time back through these tools. What do you use that time for? Are you onboarding more clients, or do your people take a longer lunch break? I mean, what?
It's utilization of our talent's time it's a big question. And it's something that a lot of agencies are dealing with because obviously your employees aren't going to say, oh, I have all sorts of time now on my hands, unless you're actually keeping timesheets and keeping track and holding them accountable. And with that newfound time, there does raise the question of what do you do with it? For me, I don't have an issue of filling my time with something. There's always something to do, But with our employees, we just have to gently push them towards using these new tools, adapting these new methods. And then with the newfound time, using it, whether it's assisting in our sales process or if it's doing something for Alpha Key, if we have a little extra time, let's work on our own business a little bit. So it's really just trying to find how much extra time it is, putting that to good use and being creative with it. But then also the accountability piece, which is, obviously, with these AI tools, I think it can get quickly sloppy and it can get lazy. So we really tell our team, proofread what you're doing. Don't just put AI slop out there. Make sure that it's real and it makes sense. And we don't want to just pump it out there without reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are many big public stories of that happening.
Mm.
So when it comes to your team, and I don't know how often your team sort of turns over, but if you had to hire somebody new, would you look for somebody who was more technical and really could use the technical part of the tools? Or would you look for somebody who was really just creative because the tools can do a lot of the technical stuff, and in a lot of cases, they're either not hard to just learn or to be taught. So how do you think you would look at a new team member?
I think where we're at right now, we would look for somebody who's more of the technical side, the operator or the integrator, as EOS people are familiar with, that type of role. Creativity is abounding in our agency. We have a lot of creativity, and sometimes you don't need any more creativity. You need more of actually making the integration and the operations happening. So for somebody who would really understand the technical side of the tools and implementing that into our tech stack would be what I would hire for.
Gotcha. Okay. So it just I should have asked you this earlier, and it just sort of popped up into my head again. When you're working with a doctor's office, how do you communicate to them what you're doing with this new chatbot, that it's going to keep their patient information safe? And what does that conversation look like?
Yeah. So most doctors' offices are familiar with, they have their own CRM, they have their own patient, a HIPAA compliant patient database CRM that they use. So basically, the integration from what we do into that CRM is a seamless process of delivering that information HIPAA compliantly. Most of when a patient is, willingly putting in their information into a public source like that, they're protected, and that data isn't stored anywhere on our end that would not be HIPAA compliant. So once they get that information, it's in their system and they're already ready for that. But most doctors' offices and these practices are really just, they're interested in growing their patient base. So when we talk about, our paid media or website funnels or the AI patient concierge chatbot, really at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're making it easier for people who are interested and ready to book in a procedure to get into that funnel and that pipeline immediately. We want to make it as quick as possible that when somebody's researching a doctor, that they can go on that website, put their information in and be on that person's schedule as soon as possible with as little friction and as much education as needed so that they can quickly and seamlessly grow their patient base. And there's a lot of problems that come along the way that we're used to diagnosing and solving and helping integrate these tools within the practices because some of these practices are still using pen and paper or they don't have electronic medical records yet. And updating these systems is really helpful, but can take a little bit of time and massaging, and we're used to that.
So you mentioned a minute ago, like one of the challenges that some practices are still using pencil and paper or pen and paper, which quite frankly is astonishing to hear about in this day and age. But what other challenges have you faced integrating AI into your agency operations with your patients or your clients?
I think first and foremost, it's the hallucinations. So a lot of these AI tools, they're not going to tell you they don't know. So if you're really not strict on the quality and cross-referencing and really reading, it's very easy to put out that information that's not factual at all. So, and there's also a bravado to the AI where it seems to really be biased, and it has a bias towards optimism and a bias towards an outcome that it thinks that the prompter wants to have.
Yep.
And one of the things too, Peter, that's interesting is that our clients' use of AI has been a hiccup for our agency because we'll notice that our
Hmm.
clients will use AI not artfully, not skillfully, and come to us. And we've even talked about having a charge for having to go through client AI slop because of how misguided it can be. And this is really frontier, groundbreaking. That we're in a time where it's just completely new. It's a new
Mhm.
technology. It's something that we've never experienced before, and it's as groundbreaking as finding fire, I imagine, or the wheel, or you name it, the printing press. I mean, we are living in a time where the adoption of AI is just groundbreakingly huge. So I can't stress enough to people how, be humble, have a little humility, be kind and patient towards one another, and also realize that these tools are still just tools. So the way that there's different ways people use hammers. You can use it to bash someone in the head. You can use it to nail a wall into a roof or nail a shingle into a roof. So it just really has to be the person still has to be conscious and aware of what they're doing. So in our agency, we make sure that we proofread, reread, have multiple eyes on things, and question our methodology, question everything. Why did we do it this way? Why did it come out this way? I have many different AI brains within my ChatGPT that do multiple things. I have an AI finance, I have an AI marketing, I have an AI ops, I have an AI sales. They're all separately trained to do different functions. And I can definitely tell if I'm in the wrong one. If I'm in the operations one and I'm talking about a sales activity, it's going to give me back a very different answer. So
Oh, so you really are like really integrated with the LLMs and the AI. Is that all
to integrate.
self-taught, or did you take online classes, or how did you learn all that?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of talking to people like you, Peter, who are also in the saddle and using this stuff. I belong to a mastermind that is a bunch of agency owners. It's called Agency Mastery by Jason Swank. Can't recommend him enough. He'd be a great guy to be on your podcast too. We'll talk about that separately.
Okay.
But that mastermind is full of agency owners who are on the cutting edge using these tools too, using it for HR purposes, using it for coding and development and design, and using it for paid media management, using it for legal. I mean, I recommend you get your legal looked at by an actual attorney, but you'd be surprised. People are writing up contracts and employee handbooks and offer letters and acquisition letters of intent. I mean, all these things I'm mentioning, by the way, I've done too. And it's just been it's a fun thing, but I can't stress enough, have people proofread it. Don't just trust it. Trust but verify. Have an
Yeah.
attorney look over your document. It just increases the speed of everything. That's pretty much what I can say. It increases the speed of everything. It doesn't replace everything though.
Yes. When I ask ChatGPT for anything, I always say, show your references. I was asking something simple about a podcast guest at one point, and it came back with their title, and I looked at the references, and I was like, I don't see where you're getting the title
Mhm.
from this reference. And it after a couple of questions, it finally admitted that it just made up the title.
Yeah. And you have to be careful. I think there was a lawyer who cited sources in their legal case that weren't real because even when you ask it to cite its sources, it gave fake cases.
Yeah.
So you have to, yeah, you have to really, it's a sneaky little devil. You have to be careful with it.
Yeah. Unbridled optimism can get you in trouble sometimes.
That's right.
So, wow. Well, Alex, this has been a really fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you joining me on the show and sharing some really in-depth technical knowledge. That's been wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate you having me on.
So, before we actually leave, what do you want people who might hire you to know about you and your agency?
I would say first and foremost, I'd want them to know that we really are in their corner. And as we're going through these times, we're a partner. We're not, we want to be seen as a partner with our clients who are guiding them through unprecedented change for the better and to
Mm,
really integrate into their team and be their trusted source. A lot of our clients, they look to us for many different things, but ultimately it's about growing their top line revenue, increasing efficiency in their operations and their marketing to really deliver a spectacular ROI on their marketing and sales. So that's something that we want to be known for and how we want to integrate and we just like to have fun too. So if they like to have fun, they're in good hands.
fantastic. Well, Alex, it's been a real pleasure. And, maybe we'll reach back out to you in a year and see how your concierge chatbot has been working for you.
Yeah, that sounds good, Peter. I think things move so fast I might have a robot with me in the room, a physical robot. We'll see.
You might. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. And, we'll see you around the internet.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Ciao.